Okay, so welcome everybody. It's 7 o'clock and we're in the Zoom and live streaming on a bunch of Facebook pages. So hopefully things will go smoothly today. First up, we see our PBSO. I see that Officer Hightower is here. I also see Brian's iPhone. I'm not sure who is the one that is going to speak today. So if you can, please unmute yourself so I can spotlight you and we can have our PBSO report.
Okay, this is Deputy Cassie. Good evening, guys.
Good evening, Deputy Cassie.
This is pretty much from last month to this month, and actually it's really not bad at all. We have one vandalism to a mailbox, 8 shots fired in the area, and 2 stolen tags. That's it pretty much for that month period. So that's actually a really good month considering. I don't know if you guys also noticed that we also in the area doing it's that time of the month again, or time where we're doing the ATVs and the off-road bikes and the golf carts. So I'm just giving you guys heads up. Okay.
That's awesome. And just to let everybody know that if you have a question, we have the chat room that is available to you. If you're on an iPhone, you may have, or a mobile device, you may have to sweep. And to ask a question, you have to be on the Zoom. We can't be monitoring all of the feeds at one time. So I don't know if anybody has a question for Officer Cassie. I don't see anything coming in on the chat. So thank you very much, Officer Cassie. I hope everything is good and I hope you stay safe.
Thank you very much. Yeah, everything is good. See you guys.
Awesome. Thanks. I appreciate it. Take care.
Anytime.
And next up, I know we have, and I just got to find you on the list. Steve, if you could unmute yourself and start your video, we can get on with the SIRWCD report.
All right. Well, I should be on video and stuff.
There you are. I see you.
Okay. I'm going to be short and sweet because I've got Mike Dillon on also, and I'm going to let him cover the majority of everything. But just wanted to cover a few quick things. Landowners Day for the big barbecue. We've canceled it again this year. We don't think it's safe to go through and to go ahead and have the barbecue with the amount of COVID that we're still having. Other things that are coming up are February board meeting. We've called it off because we really didn't have any pressing matters, but we are going to have our board meeting in March, but we moved it back 1 week. It's March 25th. It's up on the screen there, and our workshop on April 1st for the re-engineering project. These meetings, again, they'll be done we'll have a quorum there at the center, but then everybody else will be on Zoom. The other thing that's still going on, which is concern for a lot of people, we're still having, per se, dirt wars out here in the farms. We thought back 2 years ago when we worked with the county and getting the different field permits and all, that we could come up with some type of a solution. And regretfully, it doesn't seem like the building department or code enforcement is really working along on the ordinances what we had thought that would help out, with neighbors, but also for our drainage issues. So we're going to hopefully that's going to come along. Besides that, I'm going to hold off and turn things over to Mike Dillon.
All right, let's get Mike's slide up here. Mike, if you could unmute yourself.
I did.
That would be, there you are.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
My pleasure.
First thing, starting tomorrow, if any of the landowners live over in section 12, which is east of Randolph Siding, we are replacing a canal culvert located at Canal 4, which is between 164th and 165th. This project will take approximately 3 weeks, weather permitting. We're replacing a old metal pipe with an aluminum pipe, The pipe is showing signs of failing, and we want to get it finished before the rainy season this year. Second thing I wanted to talk about, and it's something that has been increasing, particularly over the past year with the pandemic, is the interactions with landowners and people on ATVs and motorcycles. I have been in contact with the Sheriff's Department numerous times over the past 2 or 3 weeks, involving landowners confronting people on ATVs and eventually calling the Sheriff's Office. A couple of those reports had guns involved, from what I was told. And the situation is getting pretty bad, and it's going to end up with somebody getting hurt. We had a call last night, this one over in Palm Beach Country Estates, where ATVs were going through somebody's property because we blocked off the access to the canal. And so game cameras caught some of the people on ATVs. They were reported to the sheriff, and then a week later, this person's home was vandalized. Over here in the farms, we've had a couple of cases over in Section 7 where these landowners confronted the ATVs, and it ended up with the police being called. One case was a homeowner, which we could not catch, actually ripped apart a South Indian River gate and drug it down Whippoorwill. So it's getting to the point where we're going to start interacting more with the Sheriff's Department, not only the Sheriff's Department, but South Florida Water Management District, Palm Beach County, and FWC. We're all going to put an effort in to try to control the ATVs and the use on the canals and the right-of-ways. So I'm asking those listening, if you do see any type of activity, cars, ATVs, motorcycles on the canal right-of-ways, what we've been asked to tell you is try to get a make, try to get some type of information on the vehicle if possible, and then call the Sheriff's Department, 688-3400, and then call the district, 747-0550. That's it, Matt. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Matt, one of the things I want Mike to tell about, what about the one phone call about a Camaro today?
Yeah, that's right. We had a phone call today, and it was on Canal 5, which is right near the office. And the landowner said that there was a Camaro driving up and down the canal, in his estimation, about 60 miles an hour. So maybe he was Smokey and the Bandit. We don't know, but that's the kind of activity we're getting. And we kind of anticipated this when the pandemic hit about a year ago, with people staying home. And we also know that tensions are running high with landowners and these interactions with the people on ATVs. So we don't ask you to confront them. The Sheriff's Office reiterated that too. Don't confront these people. Don't wave your shotgun or any kind of handgun and exasperate the situation there. Just try to get some information, make or model, call the Sheriff's Department, and then call the district.
Awesome. Thank you very much, both Steve and Mike. I see that our Commissioner of District 1, Maria Marino, has her hand raised. I don't know if that is a question on your part, if you were just saying hello. All right, let's just assume that until I either hear from her or see her type something, we'll just assume that she was saying hello. So.
Wait, she's muted. Her volume isn't up or something.
No, well, she's not muted on my end.
Well, let's see if I can.
There she is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. No, what I was saying was I am on the board of Palomar now, and we had a meeting this past week, or last week, I should say, And the issue of ATVs running around all of the lots in Palomar along the, have been horrible, and they've really degraded all of the banks. So yes, if as much as we can do to track down who these people are, they've done some great damage in there also.
Thanks for commenting on that. A quick question of that. JFR usually attends the Palomar meeting, and this one snuck up on us because they've been in recess for a number of months.
4 months. I think October was the last meeting.
Well, so you probably got trial by fire going to your first meeting there. I guess my question.
It was an interesting meeting, I have to admit.
I'll bet it was. I think my question regarding the ATVs in Palomar, because obviously that's very different than SIRWCD. I know that there is a land company that is advertising trails.
Be a man by land?
That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're advertising all of the easements and all of everything out there as basically trails, and they're selling them.
Let's just say that it was my first meeting, and I have a lot of questions before my second meeting.
Understood. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
If you have learned nothing about me, the one thing you need to know is I will not voice my concerns or opinions without having facts and findings to back them up. So I have questions that are unanswered. So as soon as I get those questions answered, then I will share with you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I can tell you that one of the reasons it was of concern for Jupiter Farms and Jupiter Farms residents is because that is such a vast holding area of water. And somebody tried to do a development there a couple of years ago, and they tried to push that through. And that was our worry. And that's why we started attending, basically all of the neighborhood the area meetings, whether it's Loxahatchee River, Loxahatchee River Preservation Initiative, Palomar. We try to keep our eyes on everything, and that was one of our main concerns. So thank you for looking into that.
You're welcome. And if you've got a copy of that ad, please forward it to me.
Okay, I will forward it to you. I have a lot of copies of a lot of ads. I will get them to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, and Commissioner, please feel free to chime in anytime you have a question about anything that we're reporting on or doing. It's so appreciative.
Oh, thank you. I will.
Amazing. Next up, we have Susan Kennedy. I will just tell you one thing to backtrack, and this is to Steve and Mike, and it's from one of our gentlemen who are watching named Bert, and he just commented that a new resident brought in over 200 truckloads of fill onto their property, obstructing the natural flow of stormwater runoff, thus creating negative impacts on the surrounding neighbors. And when neighbors called in to code enforcement, they're cited with code violations. I don't know if Steve or Mike wanted to comment on that. I know that might be a more of a SIRWCD meeting type of thing with the Board of Supervisors, because I know that was discussed. But Steve, if you want to chime in, please feel free.
Okay, that has been something that's been ongoing. We're aware of what's going on. Amy, our engineer, went through and had a meeting with the county and came back really not finding any answers. She will be giving us an update at our March meeting. And regretfully, government does run slow, but what it all boils down to is what I was saying earlier, that all the efforts that we put into and getting these the fill permits in place, it hasn't been working yet through the county. So we still have more to work with the county and things on that basis. I wish I had better answer, but I don't.
Thank you,
Mike,
Steve.
do you have anything?
No, about the same thing you have, Steve. This is an ongoing issue with the owners in the county, and I don't have anything more up to date.
Matt?
Yes, Susan.
I've also spoken with Bert on a couple of occasions and a couple of the other landowners in the area. And part of the inequity that's occurring is not just that this one new landowner has brought in enough dirt to change the water flow in the entire portion of that neighborhood, but every time all of the surrounding landowners call into code enforcement to try to enforce the dirt fill permit, code enforcement comes down on them. So instead of code enforcement enforcing the dirt permit, instead they're going around and finding violations on all of the neighbors surrounding this particular property. So it's not just a chilling effect for calling in any kind of code enforcement violations. It's a complete inequity because these neighbors are getting hit double by the county not doing the intent of the permits and also punishing people who are calling in violations of codes.
So what you're saying is that if I call something on my neighbor, code's going to be sniffing around my property as well because I was the squeaky wheel.
Correct.
Yes.
I think Bert has about 6 violations that they found on his property.
Wow.
Matt,
Yes.
Matt, this is Kim here.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Everybody, this is Kim Sicklin, administrative assistant to our Commissioner Maria Marino.
And if you don't mind, Kim and I have been following Mr. Ortiz's case. So Kim has been diligent in getting answers. And if you don't mind, I've asked Kim to go ahead and give you a brief outline. Now, don't shoot the messenger is all I can say.
We won't. Thank
All
God it's
right.
on video.
Right, and we have gotten several calls from area residents, and Mr. Ortiz apparently has acquired the required permits for the over 100 truckloads of fill. He has to comply with the required drainage plan, and the building director, Doug Wise, is following this. Mr. Ortiz apparently retaliated against his neighbors. And so since code enforcement is a complaint-driven agency, if they receive a report of something and they go out and they find the violation to exist, they're under a duty to cite the homeowner. However, code enforcement under Robert Santos Alborna has promised to work with everyone and is not interested in collecting fines against people. He just wants to bring everyone into compliance. And he has worked with a number of them who have contacted us to give them extensions of time to correct some things on their property. But unfortunately, there is some retaliation going on in the community.
Wonderful.
Matt, one of the things, Kim, one of the things that has been the biggest concern is that the original permit was only for 10 loads. And after that surpassed the 10 loads, that's when everybody started calling in. There's been code violations on things. Even when there has been a red tag, they've actually brought in more fill. The neighbors have, documented this. And this is what's upset them.
There's no way that this would have been permitted to have a 4-foot-high property in the middle of everyone else. I mean, it's not just the house pad, it's the entire property is 4 to 6 feet higher than it started. That's way more than 100 loads. The property owners next door have seen code enforcement come out, talk with the property owner and say, oh, you need to grade it this way. And they've just let it go. So there is no recourse, whether it's the county code or the way code enforcement is working. There is no equity here. The property owners all around this property owner have been, sorry for the language, they've been screwed because there is no code to protect landowners from a bad neighbor who's going to pile 5 feet of dirt on their property line. They're just, it's inequitable.
The other thing that I've even recommended that these landowners do is go to the property appraiser's office and file a claim with them to reduce the value of their land based on this damage done to it from this one neighbor.
They will all be holding water because of this one neighbor's actions.
Yeah, I wish I had the picture that Steve presented last month in the slideshow, because there was I think a 4-foot high chain link fence along the perimeter of the property, and that 4-foot high chain link fence is almost buried.
Correct.
Where is this location of the property, Steve?
I prefer not to say.
Okay, the question had come in on the chat, and that's fine. Okay,
It's
so
in section
Okay,
14. It's
We
in
are
section
here and
14.
we are listening. Hold on. We are here and we are listening. And as I said, I've been on the job now for 60 some odd days. So getting my feet wet, which would be a good term, because I think you're talking about the change in drainage out there. So Kim and I will keep abreast of what's going on. And I'm not saying these words to pacify anybody. We really are concerned. So we will do our best to try to address everyone's issues. And as Kim said, code enforcement is a complaint-driven business, because we just, the county is 2,200 square miles, and we just don't have enough code enforcement. And basically what happens is, unless someone complains, code isn't going to drive up and down every street to, cite people. So, and happens that it usually is tit for tat. When someone complains about one person, then that person complains about another person. So it's the nature of the beast. And I guess it's just, it's been a very weird year with COVID and people being cooped up in their homes and not being able to have their freedoms. And I think everybody is a little on edge and lacking in, and I'm the first person to say I'm lacking in patience these days. So just give us some time, and Kim and I are not turning a blind eye to this at all. We are listening to your concerns.
thank you very much, Commissioner. Appreciate it. And just know that there are some other people in the the chat that are saying, that there's similar situations, and we know that these are going on. And there's a question from one of our board members. It says, how come code calls can't be anonymous?
They
They
can.
can.
It has to be in writing and sent and mailed in.
Okay,
No.
that's good. No, Kim says no, Steve.
I have always been told that anonymous complaints can be made, that some people fear retaliation. And at least for as far as I've known, in 26 years at the county, you can file an anonymous complaint.
You absolutely can. As a matter of fact, right now up in the Florida legislature, they are actually talking about a new bill that would make it illegal to have anonymous calls for code enforcement. So you are allowed to be anonymous.
Interesting. Well, thank you. And in the spirit of not having our commissioner lose patience, I'm gonna move this along. Susan, if you could come back on camera. We're now up to Susan. There you are, Susan Kennedy, president of the Jupiter Farms Environmental Council.
Thanks. Just a few updates on some ongoing issues that we have. Everyone knows, well, most people know that we've been following the HEAL Behavioral Health application for a concrete living facility out here on Rocky Pines. HEAL had filed with the county for what's called a reasonable accommodation, which is happens when it's an ADA issue that happens if the county code doesn't have the right, if the facility can't get approved because of the way code is written, or because of the way the procedures are. The zoning staff wrote to HEAL Behavioral and said, well, you haven't gone through the procedures. The requirement is that you can apply for a reasonable accommodation, but you need to go through the procedures to say then that those procedures haven't given you the right outcome, basically. The staff has found that they didn't actually apply for their CLF, which they hadn't. So they were denied their reasonable accommodation because they hadn't actually submitted a permit. Their attorney has written a letter back to staff saying that essentially that applying is too much of a burden for them. So that's why they applied for reasonable accommodation. So if you could follow it, you go through the permitting process. If the code doesn't allow what you're asking for, but you need it because of ADA issues, you ask for reasonable accommodation. And then you move forward with that. In this case, they didn't file for anything. They didn't ask for any kind of permits. They just asked for the reasonable accommodation. I won't hold it up that way. They just asked for reasonable accommodation without going through the permit process. Staff said, no, you can't do that. You have to actually go through the permit process. And now they're saying, no, going through the permit process is actually an undue burden. So they're exchanging letters back and forth between zoning staff and HEAL Behavioral. All of this is going on at the same time. You can go to the next one. The same time, zoning staff is still in the process of going forth and analyzing and proposing changes to our county code for community living facilities, CLFs. We would put the website up there for you guys to see, and where it is on the zoning division's webpage. There are, if you click under the reasonable accommodation on the webpage, you can get the consultant's report, because the county had hired a consultant. We got their first report back in August. That report is up there, as well as an FAQ page. So and I say we because I sit on the Land Use Regulation and Advisory Board, we are approaching this and we'll be addressing it in February. We'll be making our recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners in March, and there will be hearings on it so that the public can all be involved in it. There'll be hearings on the changes that are going to be proposed to the CLF language in the code. Now, when I say the changes, that it's a huge change. There's all kinds of different areas. There's parking that has to be addressed. There's all different kinds of sections in the code. But the object is to make our Palm Beach County code clearer so that people have a better understanding of what is and isn't allowed, to make the permitting process more functional and streamlined, and so to make sure that everyone has adequate notice when someone's going in for a CLF license. So that's where we are in that whole process. I think the commissioner has something to say.
If you don't mind, I've got a whole, I love what you're doing, because you actually are making my job easier, but I did want to add one more thing to that. On the 22nd, the applicant, because I have my own little reports here, the applicant did submit a request for an appeal, which is required to go before a hearing officer by March 19th, and it would be 60 working days from the appeal filing date. So they have appealed the county's decision, and to follow up with reasonable accommodations, this is a long, arduous task, and we, because there are a lot of regulations in front of us, but we all need more clarity for congregate living facilities. We really need clarity, and that's what this is all about.
Right. And it is what it is. The applicant can do what they want. It might be easier for them if they had just waited a few more months and wait for the code changes to go through, but they can do what they want. And hopefully with the changes that will be recommended and then adopted, along with all the feedback from, and everyone's involved, all of the different interest groups are involved in this. The whole process will be much more streamlined and transparent. Also.
Susan, being that you're on LDRAB, you might have an answer for this. So right now they are not a CLF because they haven't actually applied to be a CLF. They are not in litigation with the county any longer. And yet they've been operating now for over a year. Is that legal? Or am I asking you to speak out of turn because you're on LDRAB?
It's not an LDRAB issue. you know, LDAB is an advisory board, and we don't do anything with regards to enforcement of county codes or state.
But I mean, so technically from where I'm sitting, it sounds like this is an illegal use out here in the farms right now, and it has been for over a year, and code enforcement has been sitting on its hands. Am I correct in that assumption or no?
Well, since we know that code enforcement is a complaint-based agency, I'm sure anyone could submit a complaint to that agency if they feel like something illegal is going on.
Well, I can say that we did that about a year ago. And, you know, I know while it was in litigation, they probably weren't going to do anything, but they're not any longer.
Just saying that we know that
Okay.
code enforcement is a complaint-based agency, and anyone is welcome to submit a complaint if they feel like a violation is occurring.
Understood.
Let me correct one thing that I said. I think I said March, but it was April. I read, it does say 4/19/21, and I came out March 21st, so it's April 21st. But they are looking at them. They're not supposed to see. So while it is reported by residents, the client is in excess of 4 persons, and that's what you've seen transportation wise, because we do have that from complaints. Zoning staff is advised that the appeal is considered part of attempts of the applicant to come into compliance.
Gotcha.
So a lot of times, while they're trying to come into compliance,
Right.
things are pretty much at a standstill.
Understood. And back to you,
And they
Susan.
still, by the way, they still have
Oops.
2 open violations. I'm reading up and down on my report here. There are currently 2 open code violation cases on them right now. Construction without permits, which violates the Florida Building Code for converting an accessory structure, which is a farm storage building, into habitable space, and also use violation for operating as a CLF and allowing more than 4 unrelated persons in the single family residence. So they have been noticed. They are under violation. They are not supposed to have more than 4 people there. So we just
Right.
you just keep complaining, and this way code enforcement keeps on them.
No, I understand that. And, you know, I guess the problem also is that, you know, $3,000 a bed per month per person probably outweighs what they're going to maybe, if not, pay in fines. And
Well, I have to tell you, you brought up a very, I'm sorry, I don't need to hijack your meeting, but.
No, not at all. This is good.
You brought up something that I'm pretty, I don't believe we should be negotiating down fines. Fines are in place for a reason. And a lot of times what happens with a business, you know, doing business on a piece of land that they're not supposed to be doing business on, they look at the cost of doing business and the cost of paying fine, and they say, well, you know what? We get fined, we're still making this amount of money. We're only going to get fined this amount of money. We're still going to continue doing it. It needs to be, I think we really need to take a look at the fine process. And I think I said that at my first or second board meeting. So trust me when I say that it's something that's important to me, is to make sure that the fines are not negotiated away.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Susan, you're back on.
I am. Okay, go down to the 3rd slide on the next section, Matt. Go to the map. Okay, I just think it's going to be easier to talk while this is up. So the next issue that's ongoing that we've been following and trying to advocate on is the IAAI property, which is this is the Park of Commerce. So if you're in section 16 of the farms, this is your western neighbor at the Park of Commerce. You can see the big outdoor auto transfer spot where the train goes in right there. The area that's highlighted in red was submitted in October 19th for proposed use of an outdoor auction. They came to us, and I say us as Jupiter Farms people that we were on the notice list. They came to us and asked us at the time if they can go do a variance to allow an outdoor auction there. The variance wasn't for the auction, the variance was for the lighting, because they didn't want to have as much lighting as is required by code. And we were like, yeah, that's sure, that's great, because they want to do infrared instead of putting a bunch of lights on our western border. And they went in for a proposed use of outdoor auction. So what's important is that this is a portion of the Park of Commerce. The Park of Commerce was approved as a use, as the whole use was approved in 1983, I think, 83 or 84. It was approved before Jupiter Farms was mostly built out in this bottom section of the farms. And it was approved before our current land use was adopted, our actual land use and ULDC, our codes for the county. So this is an existing use. It's been here for a long time, and they have what's called vested rights. They have rights to build certain things in this property, including light industrial in this section, and in light industrial includes outdoor auctions. So when they went in, it was pretty much, okay, shrug of the shoulders, it's going to be an outdoor auction. Fast forward to last year, and some folks did some poking into what this company actually is and does. And they are not really an auction. They are more of a salvage yard. The actual business model, and they have several locations around the country. They are a salvage yard. So they take vehicles that are inoperable and they bring them to a site, and they basically have parts for sale, or the whole vehicles for sale, and they move them around with forklifts, and the vehicles basically just sit there. Some of them have gone through fire, some of them have been totaled through collision, whatever it is. But it's not, you know, the fancy, I can't remember the name of it, the fancy car auction where, you know, you see the really nice.
This is not Barrett Jackson.
It is not Barrett Jackson, right? No, this is not that at all. So the complaint flag was raised, and we had a meeting with staff last fall. Staff took a look at their justification and the variance and the permit that was given for the use, and they have come to the legal conclusion that they cannot retroactively alter that approval. So they have been approved for use, and the staff cannot revoke that. It's a legal issue. So we're stuck with what they are, and the outstanding questions that remain are, again, going back to code enforcement. How do we enforce that they will be an outdoor auction rather than a salvage yard? Because a salvage yard is not an approved use in the Park of Commerce. A salvage yard would never be allowed on that particular piece of property. We have asked zoning and building what the line is. What's the line between outdoor auction and salvage? We do not have an answer back. And we do not have an answer back as to, well, when does code enforcement say you're no longer an outdoor auction, but you are a salvage yard, and this is the XYZ that you have to do to come into compliance? Because there is no line. There is no objective measurement that has been given which says this is what you are if you're a salvage yard, and this is what you are if you're an outdoor auction. So we may forever and ever be in the situation where people in the western side of our area are going to have to call and say, they're just sitting there, these vehicles have just been sitting there, and code enforcement would be like, well, there's nothing we can do because we don't know how to enforce this rule.
And Susan, I know that from Jupiter Farms resident standpoint, one of the major concerns is that, you know, having all of these fluids, these leaky vehicles, all of these people on our western portions of the farms are like the rest of us on wells. And if, you know, these leaky vehicles, we haven't gotten answers because it's proprietary information on how they keep these vehicles. And what's also very baffling is that the IAAI is not purchased this property. IAAI is going into a partnership with the Park of Commerce. So they're developing it, but they're not taking ownership of the property. So there's a lot of loose ends here for us.
Correct. And we've also received an email, and I forget who it was, but it was addressed to you, Matt, that, well, we can put drones up to see what's happening there, but once we send a drone up, we can see anything that's happening, and including what's happening in private property in the Jupiter Farm side.
Right. So that's what sounded like that punitive stuff from code enforcement saying, well, while we're up there looking at them, we're going to be looking at you too.
Yeah, we can count the number of cars you have in your backyard, or the chicken coop that you don't have a permit for, and we'll get all your neighbors as well. So
Susan, there are some hands going up.
We don't have a very good relationship with code enforcement right now, Commissioner. We're at odds on several things.
I can hear that in your voice.
And Steve, I see that you have a hand up.
Unmute.
Yes, my biggest concern, it's not only with our well water for our western landowners, but it also, that Canal 12 that goes through there, that Canal 12 ends up into the C-18 and on down the Loxahatchee River. So anything that's going to be going into the water there is also going to end up into the Loxahatchee River.
And we have to be careful of that because it's the federally designated wild and scenic river. And, those are the ones that are looking at the farms and our outfall, looking at the quality of our water, who one day are going to knock on our door saying, hey, you know what, your water's fouled and now you've all got to go on city water and city sewer.
Correct.
So that's another one of our concerns. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Susan, back to you.
I have no more. I should not say anymore.
No, but can I add some stuff?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is so I don't come unprepared. I really do try to do my homework before I come and anticipate what you all are going to talk about. So I hope that my words that I share are helpful and lead to some thought-provoking. But anyway, the Park of Commerce has existed since 1981, and comments through the Development Review Officer, along with Deb Drum's letter to Attorney Vatunik, have stated that ERM review during construction, and it will ensure compliance with the stormwater pollution prevention plan required by the state. The staff will conduct inspections to ensure property, sediment, and erosion controls are maintained during construction. They've issued a notice of intent to construct for evacuation approval, which requires that performance criteria be met for a water management tract to be constructed, specifically related to the lakeside slopes, depth, and planted littoral shelf. And ERM will engage at all times with the property owner to ensure compliance is achieved. More notes include the area is outside of a well field protection zone and is therefore not under the regulatory authority of ERM for drinking water protection. Future site business operations would be expected to incorporate best management practices for the industry that prevents and minimizes the risk of soil, groundwater, and surface water contamination. An additional 50-foot setback is required on the south property line next to the 150-foot wide canal. No outdoor storage will be allowed in the 50-foot setback. A 15-foot type 2 incompatible buffer is required along the east and south property lines with a 6-foot barrier of 6-foot hedges and code required trees. A fence will be required along the south side. The setback is measured from the property line, not from the edge of the canal. And outdoor storage and activities are to be completely screened from all property lines. Now, I've also spoken with the attorney that's representing the auction, and he welcomes having a conversation with you all. But right now they're under the threat of litigation. So until that's worked out, he really can't do much. But he does want to meet and necessitate what can be done to be good neighbors. So why I'm telling you this is because we're not letting it fall through the cracks. We are following it. And as soon as they resolve their issues with this possible litigation, they really do want to be good neighbors and talk with everybody. That's what I'm passing on to you. Whether that's the case or not, I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm just passing on the information. And I will
Commissioner
hold their feet
came-
to the fire. So
Commissioner did her
believe me.
homework. She did your homework before this meeting.
Well, you have
Susan,
to thank Kim too, because Kim is, Kim's been there a lot longer than I have. So she's she knows, I can ask the questions, but she knows where to go and get the answers.
she knows where all the bodies are buried.
Oh, don't say that.
It's true. We know it. Susan, we're back to you.
Thank you, Commissioner and Kim, and we will, I think we have some follow-up questions for you and Kim and probably Deb Drum later on that issue, but we'll work offline on that.
Yeah, I just want you to know, we're not ignoring anybody on this. We are following through, and Kim has a whole pile on her desk of active things that we talk about all the time, and this is one of them.
I think with the outstanding, I'm really happy to learn that has taken such an active role in this, and thank you for that, and allowing them to move forward as staff on that. I think we do have the outstanding question of, what the difference is between storage and auction. Salvage and auction is something that does need to be resolved in order to facilitate any kind of future enforcement activities on this property, if any are needed. And I think that that's something that has to be resolved before they get a CO, basically. They have to know, and we have to know what the rules are. I mean, again, it's about transparency and clarity.
Their rules are to be an auto auction, not a salvage. And if they work as a salvage, they'll be shut down. That's that simple.
Yeah, but what is a salvage? The difference
A
between,
good question.
exactly. So we'll hope to work and finish clarifying all that. I think we're done with this. Are we done with this, Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the next item that I'm going to briefly mention, but before I briefly mention it, well, I'll briefly mention this first. So I just wanted to put up the information on the parade and events, which is the Parade and Craft Show, which will be held in the first Sunday of December 2021. We're planning already for December of 2021 because it will happen, because people will be vaccinated by then. It's going to happen. So I wanted to put that up so that you could write it down. And if you want to be involved in it, if you want to help us plan, please send us an email to jfparadeevents@gmail.com. And while that's up, because she was such an integral part of the Christmas parade, the craft fair, the farmer, and everything else Jupiter Farms, just wanted to take a couple of minutes. If you guys haven't seen already, please look for the Jupiter Farmer for February. And the front page is a great picture and article about Lois Taylor. Lois has been in the farms. The Taylor family has been in the farm since, I think, the late 70s, if not the early 1980s, no, late 70s. Dating everything here. Yes, late 70s, over 40 years. And she has decided to finally retire from the Jupiter Farmer and from the parade and all life in Jupiter Farms, and is moving up with her daughter in Gainesville, Florida. So we just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge Lois's lifelong passion for Jupiter Farms and her dedication and sacrifices for our community. So everyone virtually clap for Lois. I think she might be online tonight. We just wanted to say thank you very much and enjoy your retirement in lovely Gainesville. And that's all I have, I think, Matt.
Well, I think you were going to talk about the upcoming premiere of what we're about to talk about.
Was
look at.
that mine? I didn't know that was mine. Okay.
Well, it's a joint thing between Jupiter Farms residents and the Jupiter Farms Environmental Council.
It is. When we went virtual last year, the world went virtual. We realized we lost one of our biggest lobbyists for our way of life here in Jupiter Farms. We lost the ability to really get people out on our land and into Jupiter Farms to see our way of living and to and see how different it is up in Jupiter Farms. So the boards of Jupiter Farms Environmental Council and Jupiter Farms residents agreed that what we wanted to do is make a short video to tell people about what Jupiter Farms is and what makes us a little bit special up here in this area. So,
and before we started, I just want to mention that Cliff Gordon is actually also online, and this would not have been able to have been made without Cliff Gordon and Blue Skies Productions. So here we go.
Matt, can't hear.
Yeah, no audio.
There's no audio? You're
There's
kidding me.
no audio. Try it again.
Yeah, I don't know how to. If there's no audio, then I think we may be out of luck. It didn't embed right into the, we're going to have to put up the link, which is going to go live anyway at 9 o'clock. I feel terrible. I don't know why the audio is not sharing. Let me see if I can try this one more time. Anything?
No. No.
Nothing?
Well, y'all please make sure to click the link. It'll be on the Jupiter Farms group on Facebook, and I'm sure Matt will put it on the Jupiter Farms residents website because it is fun, and we would love to hear your feedback on it as well.
My apologies. It's probably a technical error on my side, and I will also, of course, send this to our commissioner, because what it really is a love letter to all of the commissioners that don't ever really get up here. Not necessarily Commissioner Marino, but people down in Boca who are voting on things for Jupiter Farms and really don't know what the way of life is out here. So so I will definitely get back to you all on that, and I will send it to you, Commissioner.
I appreciate it. I have a couple of things to add too, if that's okay.
Sure.
I should have written a report, I guess.
Right. We may want to make this, the commissioner's report every month.
But I've been fighting really hard to get a vaccine site up in the North County. And it turns out that we are probably going to have one by the end of next week at Palm Beach State College on PGA Boulevard. So hopefully that will help getting more vaccines in arms of everybody. I don't know if anybody watched the commission meeting today, but Dr. Alonso gets pummeled by all of us commissioners and does share some good information. Just wanted to let you know a couple of things is that while the state of Florida is around 9% in vaccinations, the county is at 13% of all of our residents being vaccinated. And for our eligible residents right now, the age of over 65, we're at close to 40% of those that have gotten vaccines so far in less than 6 weeks. So we are ahead of the curve, even though it might sound like we're not, but we are. And there's a lot of people to thank, but just suffice it to say that we're doing the best we can with the amount of vaccines that we're getting. We are set up to put shots in arms of people in a much larger scale. We just need the vaccines in order to do that. And we'll have three big sites. One is South County, one is the fairgrounds, and one will be up in the north end. So just keep plugging along.
That's fantastic. And if as soon as, you know, when there's more information on that, I'm sure that Kim will send it out and we can get it on, you know, our groups and give the information about that, because that's just a great resource. Thank you.
And I was at an event up in your area a couple weeks ago for a veteran by the name of Justin Callahan. And for those of you that don't know it, he is getting a home from Homes for Our Troop in the Farms area. So it was a real special event that we held out at the park out there. And if he is in your neighborhood, please embrace him. He is a wonderful man and lost a limb in the war, and you know, from an IED, and just he and his family are really nice people and will be in your neighborhood in about a year once construction is over. So
I know one of our board members, Jillian Saminsky, was very helpful
Yes, Jillian
in
was
getting
there.
everything there. Yeah, it was
Exactly.
an awesome event. Thank you so much. So now
You're
it's on to
welcome. And
Jupiter.
Matt, do you want me to follow up on your Chick-fil-A truck?
It's not mine. We're kind of like, you know, the commissioner's office. People get, you know, people phone call us or email us with complaints, and we have, you know, people who own food trucks in the area and own food establishments in the area. And then all of a sudden, when an outside food truck comes in unpermitted on a different property, we get pummeled with emails and phone calls. So I just pass them along to to Kim.
Exactly. And so you called us on the 11th that there was a Chick-fil-A truck at Beacon Baptist from 4 to 7 nightly, and that moved to Montessori. Well, code enforcement met with the truck operator on the 27th. They provided the proper state paperwork, but did not have documentation for mobile retail sales. So there may be an exemption if the truck is located on site for less than 2 hours. So code is following up with the schools about your concerns. And there's
Awesome.
I have more definitions, but really that's not important. The fact is that code enforcement is following up. So code enforcement seems to be the theme of the day.
It really is. If there was a tagline, it will definitely be code enforcement. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will let.
And I'm not typing in anymore. I have no more notes.
Oh, we'll see. So I'm sure you might have something, because we're still poor George Gentile is waiting to do his presentation on Busch Wildlife. But we're getting to you, George. Let me just blow through some of this really quickly. Jupiter Farms residents, look for it on March 1st. And it runs March 1st through April 15th. The information will be posted on our social media and on our website at jupiterfarmsresidents.com. We have our scholarship coming up. And I believe that even with the COVID year, we did remarkably well with our pre-orders on our Christmas trees, and we've been frugal, and we're still going to be able to do the same level of scholarships that we were able to do last year, which I think is either 5,000 or 5,500. So we welcome all of those graduating seniors that live out here in Jupiter Farms to send in an application. We also want to remind you about Jupiter Farms Season 3 podcast. Just ask your Google or smart speaker or Alexa or whoever you like to date when you're at home to play the Jupiter Farms Residents podcast, and they will. And thanks to David Charles Guggenheim of Someone Talk Media for our direction and production. Also, I don't know if all of you have seen it, but Jupiter Farms residents Nina and Brendan Shirley premiered last week on January 30th their new Design Network TV show that was filmed on their property. It's called Farm to Table, and you can tune that in on any Samsung TV, Roku TV, TDN TV, the Design Network. It's all over the place. They aired their second episode on Saturday, so there's 2 out of 6. It's a nice little mini season. Next, we also wanted to just let you know that Hidden Wild premiered recently. It's a rediscovery of the beautiful backyard of Palm Beach County natural areas while following a group of our local teens. It features Jupiter Farms resident Dr. Mark Cook, and of course our friend Benji Stutt from The documentary is going to be required as part of the Palm Beach County School District's 7th and 10th grade curriculum. So congratulations to Dr. Cook. And assured me that they are going to be getting me a link so I can post that for everybody as well. And I think this is one of the last things for Jupiter Farms residents. And then I get to give it over to George. Talking Trash, which is the community cleanup, help keep the farms clean. Next one is on Saturday, February 13th in the parking lot of the Jupiter Farms Pavilion at 8 a.m. Jillian will see you there. I won't. And now we are coming up to Mr. George Gentile. George, can you unmute yourself and put yourself on camera and let me know who I have to give co-hosting abilities to so he can...
You need to give me co-host, and I can't start my video. Somebody shut me off and it won't start.
Okay, hold on. We'll get you right in here, George. I'm going to ask you to... And now I'm making you co-host.
Okay.
So look at you. You're there. Now it's all on you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And Commissioner, thanks for being here tonight. You'll probably have to disclose that we had this conversation together when we come in front of you with this project, but you know that story already. So, and Kim Sicklin, we're glad to have you here if you're still here. We want to just show you where we are with the Busch Wildlife Sanctuary project that's going on at Rocky Pines and Indian Town Road. I'm going to share my screen in a minute. Before I start, my client is on the Zoom, I see, and Amy Kite, if you want to make any statements, you're welcome to, or if not, we'll just keep going. So it's up to you.
I will let you go for it, George. And if you need me to intervene, I'll be happy to do so.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen here 1 minute, if you give me a second. And there we go. Okay. Let's get this up larger. There. So as many of you know, the site we're talking about is the southwest corner of Rocky Pines Road, which is on the lower portion of this plan. Indian Town Road is out here towards the north. You can see the north arrow down here. We started this project for the Busch Wildlife Sanctuary when they started to work with the Loxatch River District about moving off their property. As you all know, this was the site of the proposed soccer facility. The Busch Wildlife Sanctuary worked with the owner of the project and the site at that time, and have since closed on the property, and they now own it. So we're hoping that this is going to be the end use plan for the property. It's about 19.46 acres. The previous plan that was in front of you about a year ago was probably disrupting most of the property. There was a few wetlands that were being left on it. And in a minute, I'm going to go over our program, which is probably saving almost all the trees. I can't say we'll not have to either move or take down a few, but we're saving almost all the trees, and we are preserving about 99% of the wetlands. And there were some wetland ditches that were actually man-made that will be coming out, although they do have some remnant vegetation in it and they're considered wetland. It's not an impact to the project at all. We've been working through the county to get this project going. We are going through a full development order process with Palm Beach County. So it will go in front of the zoning commission, and then will subsequently go in front of the Board of County Commissioners. We have had some great help from the county staff. They're very much in favor and on top of the project, but they're certainly making us go through our homework, as the commissioner says that she's been doing, which we know, and the staff's making our office go through our homework. But we are coming up to the point where we anticipate that we may be in the docket, either the March zoning commission meeting and the end of March county commission meeting. At the latest, it would be April. And that's good news for the Busch Wildlife Sanctuary, because as soon as we can get through that process and get through final site plan approval, they can start working with the building department and engineering departments and take care of getting this set up for the move out here with all the wildlife that they are working with a number of agencies on to ensure their health. They take in, as you know, wildlife for a number of agencies, and this is where we bring them. We've been bringing them to the Loxahatchee River District. I was fortunate to be chairman of that commission when we brought the Busch Wildlife Sanctuary to the Loxahatchee River District, and it was I think one of the best things that we ever did in the county, and a lot of residents in here use it regularly. So let me zoom in here 1 minute, and I'm going to start really quick. I don't want to hold you up. I'd like to answer any questions, but let's start at the corner. Initially, we will only have one entryway for this project initially, which will be right here at the corner. This will be the access to the hospital, where any of you residents and the residents in the area and some of the other agencies that do bring wildlife. This is not a domestic animal or an agricultural animal facility. This is strictly for indigenous wildlife that we brought in here for rehabilitation and hopefully getting them healthy enough to get back into the wildlife. And then will also be an educational facility for the public, as it is now. But this will be the hospital. There'll be about approximately 110 parking spaces total on the site. This facility meets the county traffic performance standards. We have no issues with that. And you have to understand that this facility will also be totally off peak times of the work that's going on, or the traffic that's going on Indiantown Road back and forth to Jupiter, as well as out to the western reaches of the county and to the Beeline Highway. They are mainly a off-peak hour. So that means that between 7 and 9 o'clock, their traffic numbers are a lot less than any other user that may be out here other than a residential use, as well as in the evening. So we feel really good about that. Moving through the site very quickly, this area that you see here, and hopefully you can see my cursor, I'm going around. This is the main area for some of the wildlife rehabilitation, particularly mammals and birds in this area. We'll have a very big buffer along Indiantown Road. We will have some signage out here. And then if you go in here, you'll go through the parking lot, and this is the reception area and administration offices and the welcome center. And that's where the public would come in, particularly as they have public come in to learn about the wildlife, learn about the Busch Wildlife Sanctuary and what they do for injured animals, as well as learning about the indigenous wildlife. Then basically, as you can see through the project site, we have a series of trails that take you from containment area, where we have different things at a fox exhibit, the deer exhibit, water birds, and so on and so forth. The center portion is where the, I call them the fun animals, but this is where we'll have the panthers containment area, the Florida bears in this location, the bobcats will be here, and the otters. You know how aggressive those otters are, so we need to keep them contained here at the main center of the facility. We are using one of the wetland areas as a crocodile and gator containment area. That's down in this location. And then we're also providing, as they do at the Loxahatchee River District, they have a covered event area that they have exhibits going on. when they're open for the public to come in, and a lot of the school kids that come in here occasionally. A lot of the people who come in and out of here will be students, hopefully, once we get out of the COVID and the pandemic issues that we've had. That was the main users of the facility, was the schools bringing the kids here to learn about wildlife. We're filing, and then of course down in this area we have the maintenance area, and there is a circulation area that goes around the backside that will be our maintenance service drive that will get to all the facilities, and the smaller walkways you see here will be the trails that the public will go on to see the exhibits and see the wildlife being rehabilitated. This area towards the south from the maintenance driveway that will be eventually opened, hopefully at some point. This area is all a major vegetated wetland. And as you can see, we have preserved and kept the entire wetland intact. The same thing with this area. We do have 2 dry retention areas that will be up at the north end. But this area, this is wetland number 1. That will be remaining fully intact, and this entire area here will be left in natural vegetated state towards Indiantown Road. In fact, the area all towards the western portion of the property will be left mostly native vegetation. All the circles you see in here right now are the existing native trees, the major native trees that are in the center. We're developing about 18,000 square feet, which includes 14,000 plus square feet of buildings. And the other areas are the containment areas. So we're well within the requirements of the code for here. And we're looking very much forward to getting this project developed and in the process. Right now, we have no further comments as of this morning from the county staff. We've gone through a couple of requests for additional information, and we're excited about it. And Amy, if you wanted to pipe in at all, welcome. If not, I'll be glad to answer any questions if I can answer them.
Pretty sure it's past Amy's bedtime.
Oh, okay.
I heard that.
Ooh, sorry. Amy, go ahead.
No. I mean, I think George did a wonderful job of explaining exactly what our plan is. We couldn't be more excited about this. This is something that the sanctuary as a whole has wanted to do for quite a while, was having our own property and, not having to rely on the kindness of the Loxahatchee River District, but just security for this next chapter of the sanctuary. And with the amount of animals we're seeing and the public that we're educating, it just seems like the next logical step. And we're really grateful and happy to be headed this direction.
So with that, we'll be glad to answer any questions if anybody has sent you anything. If not, we will certainly let the Jupiter Farms and
there's a question that came in, George,
yes.
That somebody would like to hear more about a nutrient management plan and retention of stormwater.
Okay. I'll start with that, and then maybe Amy can pipe in, because this is we understand that there's definitely a management plan that they will have to do, which they do now even at the Loxahatchee River District, that they will have to deal with here. The stormwater will be contained on site. It will go through water quality treatment. Our engineer has been working diligently with South Florida Water Management District, as well as the county, and I think they've engaged Steve and Mike's district here. I know that we had the local district out on site with us to talk about everything when we first started the planning process. And so we feel really good that because we are maintaining a majority of the property in its natural state, natural vegetation, maintaining areas on site for retention, and the water coming off of this actually should be better than it is in its undeveloped state. And Amy, I don't know, you do have a nutrient or a waste management plan for the center. I know you do at the Loxahatchee River District. So I don't know if you want to make any comment on that.
Sure. I mean, we currently, when it comes to waste removal, we bag it and we dispose of it properly, whether it be, of course, any kind of biomedical waste. You know, it's just, we clean it all out, if you will, before it goes back down through any of our drain systems that will lead out to a septic. It all gets bagged up by our staff and then is disposed of in other fashions besides, you know, washing it back into our groundwater sources.
Okay, hopefully
Actually, George, that kind of led me to my question. Do you have an area noted yet for where the septic is going to be located, or is that too early in the plan right now?
Right now, we don't have that designed, but there will be requirements for really the septic area will only be in 2 areas. One, well, actually 3. There will be a minor one here at the maintenance area to the this location towards the south. Of course, the Welcome Center will have facilities in them, and then the hospital will have facilities in them, which we will be dealing with the waste stream for those in those locations. We certainly have to separate them from any of the potable water that we're going to be drawing for this. And our engineer is working that out with the county health department right now.
So you're going to be drawing water? You're not going to be connecting to the Loxahatchee River District for your water? Interesting.
No.
Steve Hinkle, you have your hand raised. And I'm
Yes,
sure,
hey,
by the way,
George.
Steve is really, I'm sure, happy that you referred to it as Steve and Mike's district.
Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't have, you know, just like you guys refer to me as the inlet district.
George, the only thing that I see here, and I have concerns about, because I know over at the Loxahatchee District right now, is that I don't see enough bus parking here.
Yeah, this area right here, Steve, is a bus parking lot. This area, actually, it starts here, and this is the bus parking lot area here. We do have some employee parking that's in this area just for the maintenance people, but this entire area right here will be bus parking.
Okay, because there's a lot of times, you know, I know that there's all kinds of school buses that come in over there, and then they come in and then they take up 9, 10 parking spots over there at Loxahatchee River District.
Right.
So that's why I was curious on that.
Yep.
The only other thing that I have concern on is to make sure with the wetlands, natural areas per se of this particular site, is that it doesn't turn into the wetland area of the Beacon Baptist Church. There's that one cypress head on the south side of the Beacon Baptist property.
Oh, yeah.
Got, and it just has never got really taken care of for anything else. So I'm just wanting to make sure that the natural areas on this site at least are maintained. And
I'm pretty sure you can call code enforcement and ask them about that. I just wanted to throw that in there. I had to.
No problem. I think that the goal of the Busch Wildlife Sanctuary is to ensure that this is a premier environmental gem in the area, as well as to help with the wildlife rehabilitation, as well as an education center. We're taking this through as an assembly institutional nonprofit use. That's how the county wanted to do it. There is a section in the ULDC that allows this. All of the uses that are going on this property could go in actually as a passive park. We think it's going to be a passive park, and it's and we think it'll be a really good neighbor. We've tried to buffer everything that we could as much as we could. We actually put the maintenance access drive around it so that we could minimize anything that was going into that wetland. That will also help us to contain things in a general location in the center of the property. But Steve, we will talk about that with the with the engineers and our environmental consultants, and ensure that Amy knows that they're going to need to maintain that. And we have to for the county. The county has a requirement. We need to remove any exotics and maintain it in its natural state. So that's what we're doing.
All right, thanks a lot, George.
Yes, sir.
I don't see any other questions coming in on the Zoom. Susan obviously has something. Ladies and gentlemen, Susan Kennedy.
Of course, it's probably too detailed because of the scope of the planning right now, that what I'm going to say. But when I was looking at the preview of this before, one of the things that we noticed was that you're probably going to need, Amy, to put in and plan a few more benches and picnic tables, because I think this is going to be, as you said, George, a passive park. And I think that since you have room, there is going to be some folks that just want to bring their coffee in the morning and listen to the critters.
And by unanimous consent, I can tell you that Jupiter Farms residents would like to donate one of those benches.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
I thought you were still in bed, Amy.
No, I'm right here. No, we definitely, I mean, that is the goal, is really to be somewhere where the community can be involved. And, you know, our founding director, when he started this, it was to be a sanctuary for animals and humans alike. So I definitely hope that people will come and bring their coffee and bring a book and sit and really just enjoy, hopefully, a little bit of natural heaven that we're going to bring out here to the farms beyond what's already out here. We just received a grant actually last year from Ballin Isles Charitable Foundation, and we purchased, I believe it was a total of 28 new picnic tables, including a number of those being handicap accessible, and also about a dozen new benches, all made from recycled materials. So those will definitely be making the move with us. And then we will also plan from that point where we need to add more seating and just more areas for people to really enjoy the animals and the environment.
Yeah, I think you can see that we've left a lot of room between the animal containment areas, that we have the ability to do all kinds of things there in regards to benching and seating and congregating. We did do a picnic area that is right here by the Welcome Center. You know, we certainly want to have everybody to be safe here, and also to be respectful of the neighborhoods that are around us as well. So
there was a question that came in on our Facebook Live asking about if there's plans for food or restaurant on the site, any kind of concession or anything like that.
Amy, we don't have a restaurant or anything like that. They may have some minor vending inside the Welcome Center. I think they do now. They might have, you know, some snack type things, but it's, and Amy, you might want to add to that.
No, at this point, it will be just like George described, a few small items in our Welcome Center. You know, we have some water, some juice, some crackers, things like that. Ironically, we did just get a lobster bus donated to us.
Can you say that again, please?
A lobster bus that was just donated. I actually am to go tomorrow morning and pick it up. But at this point, it's just a very kind donation from a lovely family, and there's no plans to open the lobster bus up.
From what I understand, there are a lot of food trucks that are circling the neighborhood that are looking for places to park. So,
well, you know, maybe there's a partnership in our future. But for now, I got to get through this phase first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see any other questions on my feed here on Zoom. So all I can say from Jupiter Farms residents' standpoint is I'm looking back at January when we had 380 people at the pavilion screaming about a soccer facility. To now is just leaps and bounds beyond what we could have hoped for this property, because as much as you have found yourself a new home, Amy and Busch Wildlife, we've gotten this parcel out from under ownership who was looking to commercialize it. And for from where I'm sitting, or actually I'm standing right now because I have a stand-up computer, but from where I'm standing, it got this parcel off from around our necks. So so thank you for needing to move.
I have much gratitude towards Jupiter Farms residents and the residents who've helped us out, and George and Commissioner Marino has come over to the sanctuary and taken a look at what we do, and just everybody that's been involved. It's so far been a wonderful journey, and I only anticipate that it's going to be an awesome transition out here to the Rocky Pines campus.
And if there's anything that the residents group can do as a whole, you know, if you're going to have a barn raising for a bear enclosure, I mean, that's some great video and comedy right there.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
I heard they needed help with the otter housing. Maybe you got
those things are vicious, man. I'm not going near otters. But you know, right next door, you know, maybe season 2, if Farm to Table, you know, gets renewed for a second season, and their new neighbors move in, this could be comedy gold.
I already did some filming with them for season 1, so we'll see if we made the cut or not. But we've already talked. I think it would be wonderful for the Dirt Academy and Busch Wildlife to work together, teach our youth volunteers about gardening, and then we can actually feed it to the animals, and it'll be a full circle community service kind of project.
If it wasn't a violation of copyright, I would sing right now.
Lord help us.
George, thank you very much again. I don't see any other questions coming in. Oh wait, Susan's waving her hand. Go ahead, Susan. You're muted, Susan.
I got it.
Okay.
We just had a question on Facebook. If we could post the plan online, if it's public yet for public.
This plan is public record. It's at the county, and as long as my client, who's on the Zoom call, authorizes me to get it for you all, I will send you this copy. I'm sorry it's not in color because we're waiting for the final comments, if there are any from the county. And just before we go to the public hearing, this will be a full colored plan, which will be very nice to host both in the sanctuary's brochure, but also for you to post. But we'll get you this if it's okay, Amy. I can send it to Matt or Susan.
Yes, I am totally fine with that. I welcome all comments and for everybody to enjoy it, hopefully.
I have permission. It's public. So I will send it to you first thing tomorrow. Okay?
Thank you.
Just curious what code enforcement's going to have to say about all this. I just saw Commissioner Marino's reaction. That was awesome.
Stop stirring the pot.
The commissioners on here, I would say we're going to have them go to the Panther and Bear exhibit to review the complaints that anybody sends. So they have to go inside and talk to them about it. How about that? So,
well, I do have to say that this is a wonderful place for the Busch Wildlife Sanctuary, and amen, it puts the whole Rise soccer thing to rest, and the land is being used for what it's supposed to be used for.
Great.
I'm so happy to hear you say that.
You'll learn a little bit about me. It's that I pretty much speak my mind. So
really, no,
I hope you can all deal with that.
I couldn't tell. No, I mean this you know, you're coming in like at the glory time. You would not have been happy at the staff
wait a second.
meeting.
I'm coming in COVID. What do you mean the glory time?
Yeah, but it means that you don't have to deal with Jupiter Farms residents in person.
I'm happy to. If I can't deal with anybody in person, I shouldn't be in this job.
That's very true. But no, this is honestly the most perfect fit, and I think that everybody across the board has been excited. George, I don't know if you've ever designed a wildlife sanctuary before, but I think it's probably a little bit different from you. Don't spoil it by saying, "Yeah, I have 7 of these. I did."
No, this is actually we're so excited as a firm to be involved with this. We appreciate Amy letting us do the design work. I actually took this project on myself as the senior principal of the firm. But we've done other great parks in the county. The Dyer landfill restoration is one of my long times when I was when I had hair on my head and I was a lot younger.
The halcyon days.
You know, yes, there you go. So,
No, and you know, I've heard from county staff, like, you know, this is just so different than anything that they've ever done. And, you know, I think, you know, the fact that you're not hearing a lot of pushback from anybody is awesome. The only complaint that I have heard, and I'm going to keep this anonymous, is the address. The address is technically not on Rocky Pines, is it?
I'm not sure if it's not, because
I think the address is like either 112th or 111th or something like that.
Oh, on the north, the right away up there. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it just feels like Busch Wildlife Sanctuary should be on Rocky Pines. You know, it's got some gusto to it. It can't be like, you know, Busch Wildlife Sanctuary.
On that right away, Matt. I'll check with them on that. Okay.
All right. If you need me to strong arm, you know,
yeah, I'll just call. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll call code enforcement. I swear to God, I will. That's just, Ramsey's going to be like my go-to call now. I'm just going to call him with everything.
He's not going to answer.
I'll just see, you know what? I can CC him on every email that comes in.
There you go.
So, George, no other questions, no other comments. Just thank you for everybody. And don't forget the Fresh Market, George. You're going to love their Valentine's Day essentials.
They're coming in there.
I love that we're getting all of the messages on your computer that are coming in.
All my emails come in.
This is just flash and trash. You got to love it.
Unshare my screen. How about that?
Yeah, do that, would you? So now we're seeing your calendar. You better be really careful, George.
I don't even know where you guys are at anymore on my phone.
I am going to withdraw the co-host position. You have to unshare your screen. All right, you know.
Oh my God.
This is just
anymore.
All right, I'm going to take it away from you. There, I took it away from you.
Got me.
Thank you very much, George. One other thing that I like to put on here for everybody who's watching, because some of you have the old number in your phones, and we do a lot of calls to the Busch Wildlife emergency number. So put this one in there. This is their emergency contact. Put it in your phone so you know how to get in touch with them, so that way it doesn't go to Amy's cell phone, because trust me, she's asleep right now. And that's basically.
I am not.
Oh, wow, she's still there. That's basically the end of our meeting. Thank you from Jupiter Farms. Wow, I'm still highlighting George. I'm talking and I'm still highlighting George. This is just awful. This is just a nightmare. Good Lord, add spotlight. Oh, now I'm sharing it with George at least. Look at me. Okay, well, thank you to everybody, Commissioner, George, Amy. I'm so sorry that you guys didn't get a chance to see the film that we made, but it's going to be posted on all of our social media at 9 o'clock. So it's going to go on our business webpage. It's going to go on our Facebook group, and you'll be able to see this pretty impressive work that Blue Skies Productions did for us. Oh, Kristen, really, you wanted me to repeat the number? No, you know what? Once this posts, you can go and rewind it. I just can't. This has been an hour and a half. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And we're doing every 2 months while we are in quarantine. So we will see you in April, the second Tuesday of April. And thank you very, very much for joining us. Have a wonderful day and stay safe.
Thank you, Matt.